Hello, guys, I'm Richard. I'm That Punch channel at YouTube. I botched that and I don't give a shit. Just got done listening to, because this is a revisiting episode, as you can tell, or you noticed, whatever. I had finished up listening to Tank's, or Evan Tucker's, or by Metal Archives, Tucker Evans' Tank's War Nation, which for many this would be the last sound for two members. However, this sound will also would be the start of something that might not end up be good. There are some good things about this album, and there are some things that are bad about this album. I know, I just said there's some things that are good about this album after I fucking did, War Machine after the rant that I gave on that album, or the video. After that, yeah. But first, let's talk about the backstory before I actually do go on to talk about this, album, on what I do think, what I honestly think about War Nation. After War Machine was released in 2010, that album would end up being the last for Chris Dale. Yes, once again, drummers seem to just come and go. And on this album, War Nation, we get Steve Hopgood, who returns to... No, actually, in a way, this is just a different band. Even though they just slapped the name Tank on it. Just to make a few fucking bucks. Steve Hopgood was actually with bands such as Persian Risk, such as Paul Di'Anno's Battlezone, even at one point even played with Killers, which was another band that Paul Di'Anno had, which also had some members of, I think Cliff Evans was also one of the members, or either Mick Tucker. I can't fucking care. I really don't care. He also played with, there's some bands that just slipping my mind, but he also played with The Real Tank in 1998 on the Return of the Filth Hounds live album. But here, he plays with this, what they like to call, new version of Tank. However, bass player is still intact. I can't remember his name now, and I really don't give a shit. Dougie White is still on board. And War Nation was released in 2012. I didn't get to listen to this album, until I think it was in 2014. 2015 was the first time I listened to it, and I never listened to it again. But why? I didn't listen to War Machine until until I did that video. Same thing with this one. I didn't get to listen to War Nation for a second time until upon recording this video. So, how does it hold up? Well, let me tell you this. It actually holds up a little better. They actually made an attempt on making a good album. Yes, I'm saying this, meaning my old self is now dying. I hate to say it, but I have to give some credit where it's given. There's some good things about this album. Dougie White, for some reason, actually not for some reason, he actually seems to not be copying Biff Byford. He instead tries to copy Ronnie James Dio. There's some points in the sound where he actually just sounds like Ronnie James Dio. Thinking, wait, Ronnie James Dio is dead, but yet I'm alive. Yet you'll never recapture the magic of Ronnie James Dio. Biker looking motherfucker. Anyway, there's some points where he actually pulls off a good performance. I have to give them credit. There's some songs in here where they're not trying to copy some of the third-rate, second-rate new wave or British heavy metal bands, or even just the first-rate new wave or British heavy metal bands. They actually are kind of doing something that they're more comfortable with. And I hate them. I know I hate saying this, but it just, there's actually some good things about this album, even with songs such as Song of the Dead, which actually the title track kicks off the album. It's not bad, but not one to really talk about. Hammer and Nails and Don't Dream in the Dark. I know I got the track listing written down. Don't expect me using puns at the end of this video. Don't. Even though I want to, but the song titles don't give me enough to actually shit on them. None of them do. I know. It sucks, but it just ends up being. There's some good songs on here. There actually are. Some that are good, and some that are just kind of fall, eh. Again, there's an attempt at actually making a good album, but there's some low points on here. Like again, it starts off slow and kind of ends slow. Dreamer was a bit of a. It's a ballad, but one that just falls flat in ways. It's not a bad song. It's definitely, again, Doogie White ends up pulling off a good performance, but for some reason there is, though, an instrumental on this album. Yeah, there's an instrumental, one that doesn't feature Doogie White. Some will think, hey, that actually is a good thing. No. It's called Hard Road, and it's a failed attempt at an instrumental. It does nothing. It just plods on. There really isn't anything special about it. Sometimes instrumentals are actually one of the special parts of an album. Sometimes it's kind of showcases more of the musician's abilities to, make something that's just, almost magical. Here, it's wasted. And it's the last song of the album, and it's wasted. It's like Cliff Evans and Mick Tucker literally they're great musicians. And on this album, they really did show that they still have enough in them to make something that's actually great. But they've wasted on just very middle-of-the-road material. And especially Hard Road, which is just fucking middle of the road. There's nothing at all that's special about it. Does nothing. It just leaves you cold. It left me cold. Left me out in the fucking snow. Definitely not. There's some good points about it. Justice for All is actually not a bad song on here. Again, there's some good songs on here, and there's some that doesn't really hit the nail. Hammer and Nails, though, definitely kind of hit the nail in places, but not as much. Again, they're not. This time, they really are not. Again, they're not trying to copy some of the new wave or British heavy metal bands. They're kind of trying to showcase a bit more in their writing, kind of show that. I don't know, just not a bad album. However, I knew that I would have to revisit one certain track. If you had gotten like the Japanese edition of this, just like with War Machine, they re-record another classic song. But instead, the classic song that they choose is another one off of Honor and Blood. But what song did they choose? On War Machine, on the Japanese edition, they re-record Honor and Blood, yet they butchered that song. So what other song did they decide to re-record? Well, it's Wasting My Life Away, aka WMLA. And it's done acoustic. It's an acoustic version of it. I didn't want to revisit it. I didn't want to, because I knew that, and I remember that it just wasn't that good. There's some certain songs that that are meant to also be recorded as acoustic. You know, there's some that actually will fit in that sort of style of, you know, just acoustic. But there's just some songs that are not meant to be played in acoustic, and WMLA at times isn't. Yeah, WMLA did have a bit of a ballad-esque to it, but the acoustic version kind of forgets, or actually it does, it forgets the reason for why the original version worked. That's the thing is, when people, you know, I can understand that Algie Ward isn't the type of person, you know, to play this, you know, sort of style of metal, you know, the power metal like stuff, or just melodic heavy metal stuff. But WMLA, the reason why it's actually, why I think it was real, why this version doesn't seem to recapture, is that song was probably the most one of the few emotional songs that Algie Ward had actually recorded. It showed an emotional side, which is the reason why there's a certain magic behind that song. Here, it's like Doogie White. He's already shows an emotional. He's a, you know, I will say he's a good singer. He's definitely got a more melodic style to him, but that's the thing with him. He's just a melodic singer and always sings melodic stuff. Algie Ward, I don't know. Algie Ward just showed it. You know, he had a punk side to him, a very aggressive side. But on WMLA, it showed that he had a definitely emotional side on him. He definitely could, you know, pull an emotional song off. And I think that's the reason why I think that original version worked. Why it remains, you know, why it remains the way that it is. I'm sorry if I can't put the right words together, but fuck, it was just great. And here it's like they forget the reason why it was great. Just not, it's really, I can understand Wells made a bonus track, but to even go in and record it was probably not a good idea. I don't think they really needed to. It was unnecessary. Same thing like with Honor and Blood. They didn't need to re-record that song. It was unnecessary. There are some songs that are left, that just should be left alone. And Wasting My Life Away should have just been left alone. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I can't really say that much about. There really isn't a whole lot to say. I can't bash it like War Machine, because War Machine really, it was a very tedious album. Here they attempted to make an album that was actually, you know, enjoyable. They did. I know some of you might not agree with that, but they did. And even though I will not accept the fact that Cliff Evans and Mick Tucker, you know, did the thing that they did, you know, going behind Algie Ward's back just to carry on the Tank name and act like that they were part of the original lineup. That they were there from the beginning. I will not accept that for what they did. I will not. However, some of this album is actually a bit acceptable though. But still, I will not accept the fact that Cliff Evans and Mick Tucker are going under the Tank name. That's something I will not accept. Period. However, like I did fail to do with the last video, was end with me saying, if you, with this. If you heard the sound the first time or have listened to it, what is your honest opinion? Do you think it actually is a great album? Do you think War Nation is a good album? Or do you think it's a kind of a average sort of album? Or do you think it's a piece of shit? What is your true, honest opinion? And after this, we get a welcome surprise. So stay tuned. We'll be back. Because as if you're actually saying, I will be back.